Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the TripleJump Podcast. It's a video game podcast. My name is Ben.
My name is Peter.
Hello, Peter.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm alright, how are you?
Yeah, I'm alright.
I'm alright. Yeah, I'm alright.
Bit tired, but you know, is it the phrase "the dog days of summer" are here, or is that like the end of summer? What is that? What is that?
I don't know. To me, I have heard that once or twice before, but with no real understanding of what that means, I feel like it's the hot peak of summer. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay, I've Googled it.
Yeah.
I can officially tell you that Dog Days 2020 will begin in Finland on the 22nd of July and end on the 22nd of August.
Really?
Yeah.
In Finland?
Finland is what it pops up.
Does it leave Finland at any point?
I don't know. That's just what it says right at the top. If you Google the Dog Days of Summer, there's a special box that says Dog Days 2020 in Finland will begin. So get ready, Finland. How exciting.
How odd. Maybe it's some sort of festival. It's like Crufts for a month.
It's entirely possible. Dog month.
Yeah.
No, you're right. It's the hottest. It's the hottest time generally.
Right.
Which it really isn't right now because it's sort of overcast and rainy.
It's drizzling here. It's drizzling.
Yeah. So it's not the dog days. What I mean is it feels like this year will never end.
Yeah.
So it just sort of stretches out before us continually.
It's the wading through treacle days of summer.
Absolutely. That's it. Hey, speaking of wading, let's talk about walking. Where are we going today?
Oh, goodness me. What about through a room full of dogs?
Through a room full of dogs. I'm sure that won't be difficult to find.
Hope people... I'll accept, 2 dogs or more.
Okay, 2 dogs or more. We can do that. Yeah. And the PNG of you and I will just sort of float mysteriously above all of them. Because it would be too much work to cut out the dogs, so we go behind them, right?
Oh, don't worry about that at all.
Don't go too mad. But before we go any further, Peter, into the dog room, who is sponsoring the podcast this week?
Oh boy, it's a medical product this week. Our definitely real sponsor. Hey Ben, does blood come out when you pee sometimes?
All the time.
Yeah, when you go for a wee and just sort of viscera and blood and stuff's coming out all the time. Don't worry, we've got a pill for that. New from Microsoft Studios. There's this brand new medication sponsoring today's podcast for Wears of Gore.
Wears of Gore.
Wears of Gore.
Wow. So as in when you say weir, you don't mean like a man-made aquatic structure. You mean someone who wheezes.
Yeah, I mean the slightly tenuous, possibly made up word wears, as in person who wheezes. Who wheezes.
A weir. Okay.
A weir of gore.
Right. And what will this pill do?
It will actually make even more gore come out in your wee.
Okay.
Because the whole idea is like whatever's in there, it's trying to get out. There's something bad in there, and if you just speed up the process, you'll feel much better soon.
That's fair. I mean, I have some questions? Mm-hmm. Do Microsoft Studios have any kind of pharmaceutical background?
I mean, they take like paracetamol and stuff if they've got headaches. So
okay, I trust them.
Yeah, they're familiar with pharmaceuticals.
Right. Are there any side effects?
Other than weeing more gore, not really. We do. I think it does say here 75% chance of death, but I like those odds.
That's pretty low considering everyone's going to die anyway.
Well, exactly. Yeah, at the moment I've got 100% chance of death at some point in my life.
What I'm hearing is that the Wears of Gore pill will make 25% of takers immortal.
1 in 4 people will never die. They'll just continue pissing blood forever.
That actually sounds horrible. That sounds horrible.
Well, fortunately, it's not real.
No, come off it. What?
God, I got you good.
I already put in my pre-order. Who did I just give money to?
I don't know. Maybe you bought Gears of War by mistake.
Oh, no, that's embarrassing, isn't it? Who wants that?
God, what are the odds that... I've never noticed that before, that they sound so similar to each other.
Oh my God, they do. You're right. And Microsoft Studios, that's the same people who publish regular Gears of War.
God, it is. Yeah, jeez.
Wow.
God, how odd.
Unbelievable. Oh, no, this Microsoft Studios is like... their logo is Comic Sans. So it might be a legally different or an illegally different one.
It must be Apple.
It must be Apple.
Yeah.
Surely. Wow, what an amazing sponsor. Of course, that is fake, because the real sponsors are the amazing patrons over at patreon.com/Team TripleJump, where for as little as $1 per month, you can get access to the podcast post that goes out on Tuesdays, and we get the questions on the Wednesdays, and then we record on the Thursdays. So if you want to ask questions on this show, then you can do. Patreon.com/Team TripleJump. There's also other tiers available. Please consider supporting there. And a huge thank you to our patrons, one of whom is...
Banoffee. Banoffee Pie. Ooh. Banoffee asks, do you have a preference of difficulty option in games, and whether they are included at all? Spyro, Crash, Breath of the Wild, and Control, to name a few, are all excellent games with predetermined difficulty. Do you like this approach, or do you prefer tailoring every element of difficulty, like in The Last of Us Part 2? Oh. Thank you, Banoffee. Good question.
Fantastic.
Well, actually...
Oh, God. Here he flipping goes.
Do you know that Crash Bandicoot has adaptive difficulty? It was one of the first games to ever have it.
Ah, so if you're too bad at it, it will make the other boys less good at spinning.
I mean, sort of, yeah. It makes the boulder go a lot slower if it keeps hitting you. It'll spawn you with a little Aku sometimes if you keep dying all the time. Sometimes you keep dying in the same place over and over and over and over again. It'll turn the nearest box to that point into a checkpoint. You just add a new checkpoint into the game.
Why did you have to pull Banoffee's pants down like that? You just lost us a patron.
Well, partly just to plug, you can find out information like this and more in 10 Things You Didn't Know About Crash Bandicoot, available on our channel right now. So, there you go.
Go and watch that. Go and watch that. Go and ask,
video.
and then go and watch. What difficulty do you normally play games on that allow you to choose a difficulty? Apologies if you can hear my stomach as well. I think I should get a second microphone just for him.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, sounds good. Ordinarily, if I was at home just playing a game casually for myself, I would usually just play on the middlest difficulty possible. Normal or, regular, cadet, I don't know, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. However, I think there are a couple of occasions where I would play it on something easier than that. So it would either for something that I kind of felt like I needed to get through for work reasons so that I can talk about it, in full. I might want to sort of blitz through. Or something I'm only playing for the story. So Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, I knew that was supposed to be a difficult game with its sort of Soulsborne style combat, people called it. And I was like, I don't want to mess around with that. I just want to know the story. So I played that on probably the easiest mode. And also on streams as well. Like at the moment, I'm playing Halo 2 on the easiest mode, just because I just want to, I want people to experience the game as a whole and the story and the narrative without me just dying over and over again and streaming the same, 10 minutes. So, those are times where I would play on something easier. But normally I would just go on the middle difficulty. I very rarely play things on hard unless it's something that... It's a game I really like and I've played over and over and I feel like I'm actually really good at it. And it's like, okay, well now I still want to play this game, but maybe I can challenge myself a bit more. But it's very rare that I would do that, really. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I suppose that you've probably played stuff on you played a lot of games on all difficulties or the hardest difficulty for your trophy hunting.
Yeah, I have. I mean, if I'm just playing a game for myself or playing it through for the first time, like The Last of Us Part 2, for example, I would play it on the bang middle difficulty.
Yeah.
And just go through it, and it provides a reasonable challenge without being overwhelming, and I can just enjoy the ride, as you said.
Yeah.
And also, if I'm streaming or I'm going for a clean-up trophy run, collectibles and so on. I'll stick it on the easiest difficulty just so I can blitz through it. I did, as I've mentioned on the podcast before, play Batman Arkham City on the hardest difficulty on my first run-through because I really wanted to feel like Batman, and I did. I did feel like Batman, Peter.
Oh,
it happened.
Nice.
I was, for a brief moment, I was Mrs. Batman.
Oh, her.
Remember that line? It's
yeah.
Classic Millerism, that one.
I was Mrs. Batman.
I was Mrs. I want to be Mrs. Batman. And I think, obviously, there's Dark Souls and Bloodborne and so on that don't have difficulty options, and I also don't think they have adaptive difficulty. In fact, in some of them, it gets harder. If you keep dying in human form over and over again in Demon Souls, your world tendency drops and it can drop all the way to pure black, at which point the game gets a lot harder. So if you're rubbish, you're going to have a really hard time. So I think the answer is it depends on the game. It depends on the way you're playing it and why you're playing it, as Peter said. If it's for trophies, there's a good chance I've played a lot of games on the hardest difficulty. Didn't necessarily enjoy it, but it was necessary for the pretend trinket at the end.
Yeah. Give yourself a shiny.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There we go. Let us know what difficulty you like to play games on. Some people are mad. Some people are absolutely mad.
Yeah, they are.
Peter,
talking of the verb to play.
Yeah, it's
time to talk about.
Yeah. What we playing?
Playing.
It's time for whoop. Peter.
Yes.
You are, of course, the purr in whoop.
Oh, thank you.
What are we petering today?
We're petering. Well, I've been petering. I continue to peter a bit of Minecraft in my downtime. Nice. Since we started playing it, I've really got back into it, and it's nice because we are, when we stream it on Thursdays, we play. I mean, it's non-creative, but it's also on peaceful mode, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But I've been playing peaceful mode. I've been playing I've been petering a non-peatful mode. So sort of proper survival style, where I have to find all my own stuff and not die when I do it, which has been super fun. And I've not really mastered it yet. I think this is possible, but what I've tried to do now is build a little sort of station inside a big cave system that I found, so that I can put chests with I can put minecart chests on the track, and then press a button and send the carts up back to my base without me having to go all the way back up there. So I'll be able to ferry stuff up and down.
Amazing.
It's kind of pointless because your inventory can carry pretty much the same amount of stuff as a chest cart can, and I've almost emptied out the cave anyway. But as much as anything else, it was it was can I do this? I want to challenge myself to find all the stuff I need for this, and even though it's pretty much pointless now because in mining all of the bits I required, I've emptied out the cave of all the minerals, so I no longer need to ferry stuff up and down. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's nice to come up with little projects and think, what do I need next? Do I need a farm, or do I want to make some piston doors for my base? So, it's so relaxing, that game. Even just playing on your own, it's very chill. So nice. Having a lot of fun with that. Other than that, though, continuing to obviously stream on Thursdays with you, and my other streams, I've been doing some more Spyro PS1 on the emulator, and Halo 2 as well, which I think I've got one more episode of. So then I'll be moving on to, I don't know, maybe Condemned Criminal Origins. That's exciting.
Spooky.
Yeah, spookums. Yeah. that's it really. Apart from what I've been streaming, just a bit more Minecraft in my spare time, which has been nice.
Fantastic.
What have you been banning?
I'll tell you, I mean, I think you can probably guess, to be honest.
Yeah, probably can.
It was Minecraft. Played a bit of Minecraft as well last night, actually. Sort of reached that point in my own personal server where it's... I can't really be bothered to build anything now. So let's blow a lot of stuff up. And so my friend and I dug a sort of vertical holes all the way down to the bedrock and then flew back out placing TNT in a huge stack all the way back up to the surface. And we did this in sort of a grid shape with diagonal lines of TNT going between the corners of the square. So there was a lot of TNT placed. And then we just sort of set it off. And Minecraft is a lot more stable than it used to be in that it won't... you're unlikely to get it to crash from lots of TNT anymore.
Yeah.
But what it will do is sort of grind to a slideshow halt, and then the game will just sort of shrug and show you what the aftermath looks like, and will stop showing you explosions because it can't do them anymore.
Yeah, it's like, hey, here's what you did. We're just not going to show you the cool bit where it happens.
Absolutely. You don't deserve to see it because you blew up a massive crater in the earth. So that's always fun. Digging up, a huge TNT pit and then exploding it into a massive ravine. Always enjoy doing that. And then also, we were playing around with wolves getting really angry at sheep.
Yeah.
And we built a sort of enclosure with 1,000 wolves in it. Not a very big enclosure, mind. We put a stack of glass and a sheep on the top. So all of them got really mad and came towards the sheep. And then we surrounded the glass block that it was on with water. So all these wolves were sort of just trying to go up this little waterfall to get at the sheep. And it was deafening when you went over there because it was just, but like times 1,000. And it made the server run very slowly. Even when you were well out of view of the wolf bit. It still didn't work very well. So it was just sort of messing around, and that was fun. Apart from that, I played some piece of crap game, am I right? Called The Last of Us Part 2. Finished it last week. God, it's a good game, that.
Oh.
Really good. It is one of the best games I've ever played. It's not perfect. I do have criticisms. Obviously art is subjective. I also got the Platinum Trophy, which in a rare move for Naughty Dog, the Platinum did not include difficulty trophies. So it was good. Finish it once on any difficulty and then do cleanup, basically, for collectibles and a little bit of New Game Plus to fully level up your weapons and stuff for the trophies for that, which wasn't too much of a hassle at all. And that was it. And I did a tweet about, I got the Platinum, and I had to block a few people immediately because it's very, very clear when someone's coming at any post about The Last of Us and not trying to engage in a level-headed conversation. It's very obvious who has and who hasn't played it, because we got a question that has some criticism about the Last of Us Part 2 in it, and it was all very level-headed. This person had clearly been playing it, and they just had their own, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and that's absolutely fine. I didn't include it this week because I don't want to get into spoiler discussions, obviously. But as I said, it's extremely apparent when someone hasn't played this game and has already formed an opinion on it, because it's usually one extreme. It's just an extreme, and there's no nuance to it at all, and they're identical as well. All these opinions are the same.
Because they've been lifted from the same sort of hive mind.
Exactly, the same sort of nasty, venomous community that they all seem to live in together. So I had to block a few people, which is always fun. But this game is incredible, and I urge people to play it. It's the fastest selling PS4 exclusive so far. It beats Spider-Man. So it sold 4 million in a couple of days, or however long it was. So clearly, the trolls, it didn't work.
No.
And the reviews are amazing, and people are starting to finish it now. And I think the tide is turning on the public internet conversation regarding the game, which is good to see. And I urge everyone to play it as I did before. It's very, very good and worth experiencing.
Interesting that, isn't it? How the initial discourse is so negative and stuff in that time period where no one could possibly have played it anyway, because like within a few hours of it being out, it's like, this game's crap. And then strangely enough, after enough time has passed that like more people have been able to play it than not, people who want to comment about it, suddenly the tide has turned and the prevailing opinion seems to be quite positive.
Yeah.
So how odd that when you take time to actually play it, suddenly it's good.
Super bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
I spent a little portion of yesterday listening to a spoiler cast from Kinda Funny Games with Greg Miller, and he had on Neil Druckmann, the director, and Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, who played Joel and Ellie respectively, and they talk all about this kind of stuff. And I don't know how anyone could listen to them candidly talk about these characters and think that they don't care about them. Which seems to be a central argument for trolls. So there we go. That's my piece. The game is brilliant. Please go and play it or watch a YouTube playthrough or something. It's good. It's very, very good, and it's worth your time.
Yeah.
There we go.
Very good. Well, that leads us straight on to another question.
Yeah.
Which kind of the way I worded that implies that the next question is about The Last of Us, which it isn't. I just mean it's time for another question. Who's this from, Ben? And what done they done said?
This is from Pim van Barsen, who does have letters in their name, which coincidentally is also what The Last of Us is comprised of. Name-wise, they share letters, right? So there's a crossover there. There's
some A's and an S. Any other? I think all the other letters don't actually exist in The Last of Us.
Yeah, there's a lot of A's here though, so maybe
there's an E.
Maybe that's enough. Yeah, The Last of S.
Yes,
of course.
Yeah.
Part 2. My dudes. As a kid, a long time ago now, my parents were not at all keen on me playing video games and actively resisted me getting a console for fear it would affect my grades, etc. Did you encounter something similar? How did you overcome it, if so? And what would you say to parents displaying such an attitude now? As I know a lot of parents are very concerned about iPad gaming and the like. Well, Peter.
Yeah.
You and I are both, obviously, parents.
Yes.
So we know exactly what it's like to raise children. And no, obviously, I think we can probably only speak from personal experience as children. I wouldn't dare speak to parents about how they should parent their child because, good Lord, right. I can only imagine how challenging that is.
Yeah. I mean, well, before I do have one thing I would say about like what I think parents should and shouldn't do. You're right that like neither of us are in a position to really preach about this is correct and this is incorrect. But I do think one thing that does frustrate me is when a quote-unquote violent video game comes out or a game that quote-unquote encourages certain behaviours. Invariably, these games are, we've talked about this before, of course, are suitably, appropriately age-rated. The GTA, for example, it's an 18. It's an 18. And hopefully most people, by the time they're 18, have the kind of judgment and the kind of mental faculties that they're not likely to want to go and pull someone's teeth out with a pair of pliers. Of course, there are always exceptions to the rule, but hopefully by the time you're 18, there you go. And equally, you're not going to be traumatized by things like that. However, some parents still go out and buy copies of games like GTA or Call of Duty for their children. They know that the kid can't go into the shop and buy it, so they go and buy it for them and give it to them. And then there are issues as a result of that because these kids aren't ready to play games like that. And then the media love it. And they're saying, oh, look at these terrible games that are warping the minds of kids. It's like, well, the kids shouldn't be playing it legally. The kids should not be playing that game. So that is one thing I would say. I think, putting aside whether a parent thinks, oh, I like that or don't like that game, whether I want my kid to play it, which we'll probably sort of come on to now. Certainly as far as actual legal age ratings go, I don't think kids should be exposed to things certainly well above their age range. I don't mind if there's a little bit of leeway personally, but you shouldn't be giving an 18 to an 8-year-old, I would say. But
no, absolutely.
Anyway, little rant there, a little bit of preaching. But on the other hand, when I was a kid, and I'm not saying this is right, I'm saying it probably wasn't right. I think by the time I actually got my own console, my parents, I don't think they knew what I was playing. That's the thing. It's not that they knew that I was playing stuff that was probably a little bit out of my league, but they just probably weren't aware. And that in itself is probably not a great thing. You should always, hopefully you should be aware to some extent what kids are being exposed to. But I was able to play games that maybe my friends had lent me, or like a sort of hand me down from like an uncle or whoever who was like done with the game. Stuff that was probably a 15 or something like that. Or I certainly played a little bit of. I've talked before about how I used to play Duke Nukem Time to Kill multiplayer, which I don't know if it was an 18, but it was certainly quite gory. If you shot someone with a rocket launcher, there would just be a red smear on the floor, and like bits of their body would be sort of flying around. So that was probably not really something I should have been playing. But before I had my own console, and I would just go around to other people's houses or whatever to watch them play, though I think there was a little bit more concern from my parents at that point that I wasn't going to go somewhere and see something that they weren't able to moderate. So yeah, arguably I would say my parents should have probably kept me on a slightly tighter leash, because I can't very well go, oh, don't let your kids play 18s, and then say, my parents let me play 18s. So yeah, I think I probably shouldn't have played some of the stuff I did as early as I did. I seem to remember you've said in the past that you, when you first got your PlayStation, there was Santa Claus had accidentally brought you the wrong thing, hadn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely got some games that I wasn't allowed when I first got my PS1. Some secondhand PS1 package wrapped up in a brown box covered in parcel tape, so I don't know where it had come from. But it was clearly somebody else's, just with a load of games, and my parents took those games away and traded them in and got Final Fantasy VII from it instead. But yeah, that's the thing about your point regarding not buying kids 18 rated games. I mean, obviously you shouldn't, but I feel like almost everyone listening to this wouldn't be the person they were without either playing those games having those games as a kid, or knowing someone who was bought those games as a kid. Because I didn't have those games. I wasn't allowed those games. But my cousin had those games, and I saw him quite a lot. I used to go to his house quite a lot, and he didn't live too far away. So I used to play Grand Theft Auto and Resident Evil and stuff like that, with varying levels of success, obviously, at his. And if I lived in a sheltered bubble, not knowing these games existed, I don't think I'd be as into games, even though I didn't own them myself. I'm glad my aunt bought my teenage, 12, 13-year-old cousin GTA, because if he didn't have it, I wouldn't have seen it. I wouldn't have known it existed. So, God, on the face of it, no, you shouldn't really buy those games for your kids, but it's difficult to advocate for buying them. But at the same time, as I said, I think everyone listening has experienced 18 rated or adult rated media before they were technically adults. And I don't know, it's just difficult. I think it's just difficult to have a hard and fast rule on it beyond obviously the law that is there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. To be honest, I made the point at first about don't buy 18s for your kids, and then as soon as I moved on to my experience, I thought,
my parents bought 18
or 15s as a kid. Well, they didn't. I don't think my parents did ever buy them for me, but I got them from other people. But yeah, I played them as a kid, and I thought it never did me any harm. So, and yeah, you're right. I kind of think I'm glad that I played those. So I think what I've really to totally admittedly backtrack, what I should say is not necessarily don't buy those games for your kids, but there has to be my point is, what frustrates me is when the media say kids are getting warped by these games, and it's like, well, but technically someone has bought that game for that kid. You know, you can't blame the kid. You can't even blame the video games industry, because they covered themselves by saying no one under this age should play this game. So I guess what my point is, you have to be careful with the blame game, especially if you're in the media. I don't specifically think that kids shouldn't play those games, because you're right. I had a good time with them. I'm glad I played them, but don't go crucifying video game developers, publishers. Don't go pointing the finger at the kids themselves. I think everyone has to just, I guess, know the limits of your own children, or if they're your nieces or nephews or cousins. It's just everything sort of in moderation, and know your child's limits, I guess. Mm-hmm. So if you think they can handle it, or if you know they can handle it, then go for it. It's a bit like a 12A, Yeah. It's like, this is a film for a 12-year-old, but if you're with an adult who thinks you'll be okay and you're under 12, come and watch it. That's that kind of idea, I suppose.
Is it video certificates are there to help you make the right choice or something?
Yeah.
Is that the phrase?
Thanks for listening.
And there's a little tick at the end. They don't put those on things anymore. Although it's been a long time since I watched a DVD, so who knows? Maybe they're still there. They were certainly on VHSs.
Yeah. They were,
back in today. In terms of my own personal experience, though, growing up, I wasn't allowed. I say I wasn't allowed gaming magazines, but as in I wouldn't be bought them. I would ask for them and I wouldn't get them. So until I was a teenager and I started buying them myself, I didn't really consume any gaming media. And I had the whole limited screen time thing where it's like, no, that's enough. You got to stop. I didn't stop. I'd be playing games when I wasn't supposed to be playing games, and I'd get told off. I know it's almost impossible to police nowadays with all the screens that everyone has.
Yeah.
My brother is significantly younger than me, and growing up, I've witnessed him, especially through exam periods, nearly kill my parents with just them having to constantly tell him to, no, that's enough. And then he'll just pull out his phone and start playing his phone.
Yeah.
So they turn off the Wi-Fi. And it's like other people in the house are saying, well, hang on, I need to use the internet. This is not a perfect solution. So I know it's hard. I know it must be really flipping hard to do it these days. But I don't know. I think there needs to be an element of control from the parents, but there also needs to be an element of responsibility from the child as well. They need to understand why this stuff is happening and why they're having stuff taken away from them or whatever. I gave up my PS3 during my exam period because I knew that the exams were important, and I knew that I wouldn't revise if I had my PS3 in my room. And I had a copy of GTA 4 that had just come out, but I'd given up my PS3, so I couldn't play it. So I just gave it to one of my classmates for like 2 months and then took it back again. And that copy of GTA 4, of course, was, at that time in my life, purchased by my friend's dad, who I gave the money to. And then, so it's all... Yeah, there are better ways of doing it, for sure. I had to be quite underhanded in a lot of ways. And then when I started playing GTA 4, my parents just didn't care. They just didn't mind. It turns out maybe I was overthinking how much they cared about that kind of stuff. But I think it was important for me to reach that point where I understood that actually, okay, games are fine, but some things are more important sometimes, and you need to make sure that those come first.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's not even an easy question to answer. I did a whole U-turn even just from the point of that question being asked to the point we are now. I've sat in almost two opposite camps, but it's a very tricky thing.
It is
to work out.
Well, how about we just get equal parts horrified and amused by a section that I haven't got my thing. Hang on.
Oh, me neither, actually. Okay, I've got it.
A section that everybody loves. It's called Weird news.
Weird news.
It's weird news time. Welcome everybody to the Weird News Zone. Peter, have you got some weird news for me?
You bet your bottom that I've got some weird news for you.
Whoa.
What? Are you okay?
Whoa.
Did you not like that? It's a strong word. Sorry. It's from PCGamer.com. Thought we'd mix it up a bit. It's written by Fraser Brown from PCGamer.com.
Okay.
Thank you, Fraser. It's auto-playing a video. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Hacked Roblox accounts are telling people to vote for Trump.
Oh, no.
Better yet, though, is the little subtitle underneath that says, 10-year-olds are a key demographic.
Oh, Christ.
So, here we go. Roblox has become the unlikely target of pro-Trump propaganda. The White House is up for grabs again this year, and even a game played by predominantly children under 16 has been unable to escape the impending US election. Spotted by the BBC, some Roblox accounts have been hacked and transformed into Trump bots. Sorry, there's a picture of one wearing a You know the Roblox are those really wide, blocky... They look like Steve, but they're about 3 times as broad. Mm-hmm. It's wearing a Make America Great Again cap and a T-shirt with an American flag and an eagle on it, of course.
Okay.
It's incredible. So they've been transformed into Trump bots, sending other players pro-Trump messages. While Trump's candy floss hair, bright orange skin, and love of McDonald's might appeal to children, says PC Gamer, they can't vote. So the messages the messages instead tell them to ask their parents.
Right.
Whoever is responsible has gone the extra mile, even dressing up hacked characters in red caps evocative of the MAGA cap, a T-shirt with an eagle and the US flag, a red, white, and blue color schemes. Profiles have also been edited with slogans, and searching for profiles using "Ask your parents to vote for Trump this year" generates a huge list.
Oh my God.
Some players have posted the messages sent by the Trump bots and screenshots of their Trumpified characters on Twitter. As well as telling players to get their parents to vote Trump, the messages contain links to scam sites, so it's unlikely a sincere effort to create more Trump voters, though nothing could surprise me now, says the writer. At the end here it says, this has been going on since last week, but the problem persists. Targeting kids with Trump propaganda or any other politician's propaganda is pretty troubling, even if no parent is going to change their vote based on what their kid heard on Roblox. But the greater risk comes from the links to scam sites that could exploit more vulnerabilities. Unrelated, but there's also a weird number of Trump-themed Roblox accounts on Twitter. Oh, okay then. And it just ends there. That's
Wow.
it. Thank you, Fraser Brown.
That's low, isn't it? I mean, I
low.
have a strong suspicion that is not an official decision by some PR company. But either way, that is going after 10-year-olds is not great. Not great optics on that one.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Is that the one that goes ooh?
Yeah.
Ooh. It's impossible to impersonate. It's such a good noise, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sort of higher pitched.
They're so wide looking.
Yeah, why are they so broad? What's that about? What do they feed
They're
in them?
just ripped.
What do they feed in these blocks, huh?
McDonald's, apparently, according to PC Gamer.
I trust PC Gamer. I've never played Roblox. I don't know how it works.
I installed Roblox on my computer.
And I got a virus.
Because, or something happened. I don't know if it was coincidental, but Amy's little brother plays it, and she was talking about Roblox and how funny and weird it is, and she was like, you should install it and just see some of the strange multiplayer rooms there are where there's, odd role playing and, really weird stuff. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll give it a go. I installed it, and my computer blue screened, and that was the end of that computer.
I was joking.
I had to get a new one.
That's good to know. Roblox.
Yeah, I think it was coincidental, but it was just as I installed Roblox.
It bricked your PC.
Yeah, it did. Roblox bricked my PC.
Fantastic. Wow.
Yeah. So that was pretty weird, but I have a feeling you might have a weird news too to weird us out with.
I do. I want to start by saying everyone is fine.
Okay.
This is from...
You never want to hear that. You never want to get a phone call from a loved one. Like, now, everything's okay,
but
we're fine.
Roblox bricked my PC. This is from Jordan Ollerman over at IGN. We both went sort of delving into the internet a little bit further than Kotaku this week to find weird news.
I just didn't want to do Kotaku again, so I
couldn't find anything.
I deliberately just...
On Kotaku, no. I was let down by Kotaku this week, although we've just been tweeted a really good one that we'll save for next week, which is from Kotaku. So clearly that went live after we got our weird news. But
I just didn't bother looking. I just thought, let's mix it up. So I went to PC Gamer straight away and found that.
Well, here we go. Are you ready? From IGN? Rocket League streamer seemingly shocked by lightning strike during stream.
What?
A professional Rocket League player, Karma, is thankfully fine, is the subtitle. Okay, here we go. A professional Rocket League player was apparently shocked by a lightning strike while oh my god, IGN. A professional Rocket League player was apparently shocked by a lightning strike while they playing the game live on stream. First sentence.
This is why we stick with Kotaku.
Kotaku at least has some level of spell check. Jordan Ollerman, if I refresh this, it better have been corrected. Let me have a look. Because I've had this open since yesterday.
Right.
Nope, still there. While they playing the game. Twitch streamer Karma's neighbor... Oh my god, again, even this line. Twitch streamer Karma's neighbor's house was struck by lightning during a thunderstorm, and, as a result, the jolt appears to have travelled into her room and hit the controller she was using to play the game. Karma was not on camera at the time of the strike, but can be heard reacting to it. We're not going to play that audio. It does say that some viewers may find the footage disturbing. I'm sure it is. You can hear Karma explaining the situation in a subsequent clip from her stream, where she talks about how the lightning may have travelled into her house, causing the controller to spark and burn her hands.
Oh, God.
The streamer sought medical attention after the event, and thankfully she has since told her fans on Twitter that she is fine. The streamer was casting a Rocket League series when the strike occurred, and the controller she was holding is now broken as a result. We hope Karma makes a speedy recovery.
That's pretty weird news. That's... Wow.
And underneath it says, in other Rocket League adjacent news, check out this unlicensed Quidditch Rocket League hybrid game that was recently... IGN. IGN.
Anyway, she's fine. She's burnt her hands, but she's fine. So, Quidditch. Yeah.
Do you want to save some money? That's awful.
No.
That's awful. Oh, what a horrible write-up.
Spell check your articles.
This is not good. This is not good write-up at all.
Oh, dear me. Lightning strike.
Yeah, so it blew up the controller. There's a tweet embedded from Karma at Karma with an HTV. Actually think I just got struck by lightning through my controller. WTF. Update, talking to doctor, hands are burned and controller is broken. Unlucky is what it says. I think lucky is actually... It's the phrase,
I thought you
right?
said talking to Dr. Hamza Byrne.
Dr. Hamza Byrne, yeah.
Hello, I'm Dr. Hamza Byrne.
No, but there we go. Rocket League can officially get you struck by lightning now, it seems. Obviously, we're very happy to hear that Karma is okay, because that could have been worse.
Sure.
That's spooky, that.
There's some sort of pun about, like, oh, well, that's karma, or, lightning doesn't strike twice, or, but... Again, she burnt her hands, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold out much hope. Jordan's going to pick up the ball and run with that either, given the writing in this article. So never mind.
Yeah, can't even string a regular sentence together, let alone a
There
pun.
we go. So, that's it. So that's the weird news. Hope you enjoyed it. It's time for another question.
Certainly is. This is from Duncan Wilson. Wilson. Who says, Salutations, Peter and Ben. As someone who only watches 3 channels on Twitch, they being TripleJump, Vidiots and Booth, I'm not really into live streaming that much, but was interested in the news that Microsoft was shutting down Mixer, its own rival service, leaving some streamers somewhat adrift. Wonder what your thoughts are on this news, and do you think there'll ever be another contender, or will Twitch reign supreme? So, this actually happened. this had already happened by the time we were recording the previous episode, but I guess no one asked the question, so we didn't really discuss it. But they're essentially moving it to Facebook. I think you've got a statement to read, Ben, but that's kind of the idea.
Yeah, this is a little snippet from GameSpot here. Microsoft has announced that it is shutting down Mixer, its streaming competitor to the likes of Twitch. The Xbox owners will be transitioning over to Facebook Gaming instead, partnered streamers having the option to be included with the move or return to Twitch. I don't think this is going to go anywhere, really. I mean, Mixer didn't make any kind of moves, and Facebook Gaming, I've never heard of it.
No, me neither.
I don't know that this is going to... the only way this is going to go well for them is if they poach a load of talent. You know, I don't follow big Twitch streamers. I just don't really watch Twitch at all, but I haven't heard Ninja's name mentioned since he left Twitch. I don't know.
I only heard Ninja's name. It was trending the other day when this happened.
So there you go. Do you reckon he'll return to Twitch? Saying, I don't know if that's confirmed.
Yeah, well, exactly. People were saying, "Oh, well, he went out on a bit of a limb. He did. I mean, sure, he got paid loads of money to do it. He didn't just take a risk to be nice to Mixer, but he went out on a limb. He left Twitch. He went to Mixer, and Mixer have let him down. And that's why I think, actually, irrespective of like whether they poach big talent." I don't think they're going to be able to poach big talent at Facebook Gaming, because I feel like an attempt was made to do that for Mixer, and Ninja and a couple of other people went over there, put their trust in Mixer, took some money for it, and it's just proven that, I guess, Mixer, the reason they've like just shoved it into Facebook Gaming now is because it probably didn't really get off the ground the way they wanted it to, and they've just decided, well, this, as a brand, this isn't going to work anymore. We'll have to just amalgamate it with Facebook. So I kind of feel like if Facebook Gaming now go sort of sniffing around saying to people, "Hey, do you want to come over to our channel?" I think anyone in their right mind would say, "Well, no, actually, because people have already did that with Mixer and they were let down. Why would I want to leave Twitch and my big Twitch fan base and go to a new thing that might just crumble around me like it just has done for everyone who went to Mixer?" So I think it's completely doomed to fail. I think Facebook Gaming has even less chance than Mixer ever had of becoming a successful, big contender in the streaming scene. And I think Twitch is pretty much, unless there's some huge economic crash that somehow affects Twitch, I don't think Twitch is ever really, in the same way as YouTube is always going to be the video hosting site, I think Twitch is now always going to be the game streaming site. It just is. Like, it's got a monopoly, and unless, something horrible happens to their stock prices or whatever, that it's just they're here to stay, like YouTube is. Absolutely.
Amazon owns Twitch. Amazon is it's a larger than normal sized company.
Yes.
They're doing all right for themselves. Twitch offered the best deal for streamers even when Mixer was around. Facebook Gaming is going to have to roll out the red carpet to people if they want anyone who's starting streaming and doesn't have an established viewership to come to them instead of Twitch. They're going to have to incentivize it so much to make money on that platform, and they're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to match what Twitch has already got. Anyone who's already got a platform on Twitch, as you said, the reputation is already ruined for Mixer, and if they're integrating that to Facebook Gaming, then that's not going to change anything. It's just got a different name, basically. There's no reason why they would go over there unless, like Ninja, they were offered an absurd amount of money. But even then, the amount that they stand to lose is way more than I would imagine the money that they're going to be offered.
Yeah.
We would never go to Facebook Gaming. Why would we do that? Twitch is the established king. If things somehow swing in the favor of Facebook Gaming, we'd maybe consider it, but Twitch would really have to be on its last legs. And as long as it's backed by Amazon and continues to be the market leader, it's not going anywhere. There's no competing. There's absolutely no competing. But in terms of sort of as Duncan asks, what are your thoughts on this news, and if there'll ever be another contender beyond Facebook Gaming? I don't know. I don't know of a company bigger than Amazon, bigger than Facebook, Bing, that's it. Bing. Bigger than Microsoft, who would ever even consider getting into the streaming game, apart from maybe Apple, who would even have the money to think about stepping to Twitch. And if you don't have the money, then it doesn't matter how good your idea is, you're just not going to compete.
No, that's it. Yeah, and I think the only contender, and I still think it will always be second, would just be streaming on YouTube. You know, we do a bit of that, and in some ways, we find that we at least get bigger numbers. I guess it helps that we've got an actual established YouTube channel on there, and therefore we just get people from that. So our subscribers come and watch our live videos. That's the benefit of it being a streaming and video hosting platform. Whereas over on Twitch, you know, some people, they love watching YouTube. They've been doing it for years and years and years, since, you know, the mid-noughties, but they just don't like the idea of going over to Twitch to watch stuff. I know that I didn't, you know, Twitch had been around for a long time before I even bothered looking at any Twitch streams, because I thought, what's this new site? You know, I've got enough on my plate in terms of being entertained for free. I don't want to go over there as well. So YouTube has that in its favor, that it has like these pockets of huge audiences already there, sitting there, fans of content creators, and then all YouTube needs is for those creators to start doing a bit of streaming on YouTube, and you know, the stream goes into someone's sub box the same as a video. So it's got that helps. Yeah. So that, I think that makes it possibly a contender. But yeah, I don't think other than YouTube, anywhere else is going to come close to Twitch as a streaming site.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So we'll see what happens. I don't think much will happen. Right. It's time to move on to a rather large discussion of some kind. Are you ready?
Yes, certainly is. Yeah, I've got my prop here.
It's time for the big discussion. It's big discussion time. This big discussion comes courtesy of Dan Clapper.
Oh.
Hi, Ben and Peter. In a recent interview, former top PlayStation exec Sean Layden said he thinks current AAA game development is unsustainable. He points to games taking 5 years to make and game budgets frequently exceeding $100 million, while the price a consumer pays has stayed at $60 for over a decade. His solution was for there to be a return of the 12 to 15 hour AAA game that can be made quicker and cheaper. What are your thoughts? Now, before you read this statement, Peter, from Sean Layden, which is quotes from him, I initially heard this, and again, you know, proving that context is very important. It sounded like he was trying to take away my big budget games. And so I wrote all sorts of arguments about why they're important and stuff, but actually that's not exactly what he's saying. He's not saying they need to go away. He's just saying, analyzing the market, is this sustainable? Are you going to be able to keep paying $60 for these games and have them continue to be made?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, you ready for the statement? I don't think that in the next generation you can take those numbers and multiply them by 2 and think that you can grow. I think that the industry as a whole needs to sit back and go, all right, what are we building? What's the audience expectation? What's the best way to get our story across and say what we need to say? Despite the rising cost, the game's base price remains the same. Despite rising cost, the game's base price remained the same, which makes ballooning budgets and development time even harder to justify. It's been $59.99 since I started in this business, but the cost of games have gone up 10 times, he explained, calling it a freak of nature. If you don't have elasticity on the price point, but you have huge volatility on the cost line, the model becomes more difficult. I think this generation is going to see those two imperatives collide.
So it's understandable what he's saying there. Well read, by the way.
Yeah.
Some spooky
Thank you.
words.
Yeah, that was well, just strange word order, and yeah.
It makes sense. You know, we've been paying $60 for games for a while, and games are getting more expensive to make. I think there's a good chance that we'll end up having to pay more for games or more for certain games, and I'm okay with that if it's a game that I really care about and that it's, it's had a ridiculously expensive development. I would say, though, in terms of thinking games should return to a 12 to 15 hour model, I'd say that most AAA games are 12 to 15 hours. We do get a lot of RPGs and open world games, but even the ones that are less expensive to make are still, more expensive, are still... what am I trying to say? Even the ones that are less expensive to make are still quite longer than that 12 to 15 hour period. So I think it's just, it does come down to genre as much as anything else. Because most of the Uncharted games, they didn't take 5 years to make, but they do fit comfortably into that period and that playtime, and I'd happily have more games like that. However, I'd like to think that there's still room for both types of game, even if the number of huge games that take years to make is ultimately reduced, or we have to pay more for those, because these massively expensive games they're really important for driving the industry forward. And not every game needs to be like that, but if the pioneers of mocap in gaming, for example, didn't blaze that trail beforehand, courtesy of this extra time, courtesy of this extra budget, then games on the whole just wouldn't look as good as they do today, because those games that had the budget and the time to make them look that good set the standard, and now everyone's matching that. And personally, I really enjoy an expensive game, that took a long time to make, and selfishly I'd be sad that they might be eradicated in some money-saving effort. And additionally, I don't think that's going to happen, because these games usually sell millions of copies, so they're definitely a worthwhile investment for the company. They're, 99% of the time, I'd say these really long in development, expensive games tend to make their money back several times over. Your Red Dead Redemptions, your The Last of Us's, your Spider-Mans, all that kind of stuff. The games that take ages to come out, unless there's something horrible happened in development. So I do think there's room for both types of games, and I don't think we're going to lose the several years in the making $100 million games at all. I think they'll still be around, but I wouldn't be surprised. He was a former executive. He knows what he's talking about. I wouldn't be surprised if, in order to meet that need for these games to exist and the desire for these games to exist, as the budgets continue to get bigger and bigger, as technology gets pushed further and further forward, that the base price of games may go up. But I don't think they'll disappear.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if the base price went up ultimately. You're right. Like this is from someone who understands the basic numbers, really. I mean, it's in a sense, you don't have to have a degree in economics, or you don't have to be an accountant to see that, well, if the budget is this, the time taken to create the game is this, the price to buy it on the part of the consumer is this, and this is how many we expect to sell. It's a fairly simple bit of arithmetic to work out, well, do we make profit? Are we going to make profit off that? And it's a business, unfortunately, for us. If it would be nice if everything was still £30 or whatever, and games were just incredible and had enormous budgets. But it's a business, and they have to think about their margins. But equally, if it does turn out that part of the solution to this is to maybe lean a little bit more towards those 12 to 15 hour style games, in some ways I would welcome that. I love the idea of huge games, open worlds, loads of side quests and collectibles and things to find. But in the same breath, I have to say that we've criticised the likes of Ubisoft in the past for just oversaturating their maps with map markers, and a trillion things to find. And I think there's a happy medium, So I think that by all means there should be, or there could be an increase in the output of these 12 to 15 hour Uncharted style games, which I think are wonderful. I would welcome more single player narrative based stuff like we've seen on the PS4 recently. Although that being said, some of those have huge budgets all the same. But when it comes to open world style games, I think there are things that the developers could do with focusing on more and think other things that they could, not worry about so much. So don't make me wander around collecting feathers, for example. But by all means, have it. I remember the first time I played Skyrim, and in the first hour or two of gaming, you're almost guaranteed to have a bunch of organic, sort of dynamic, surprising things happen to you that can take place at any time. And, I'd played Oblivion before, but it was very rare that things like that happened. You would occasionally encounter a highwayman, maybe. But in Skyrim, if you, within the first hour of the game, if you upset someone by stealing from their house or by giving them a punch in the pub, you'll have that one, I think it invariably occurs quite early on in the game, where some hired goons will come up to you in the street and they'll fight you. And if you kill them, you'll find a little note on them that says, "Oh, I want you to go and kill Peter because he punched me in the put." Or just go and take him out. And I remember that moment quite strongly, thinking, "Wow, this is like a real living world, and they've really put some time and effort into that kind of thing, making it feel alive." And I would welcome more of that sort of stuff, rather than just filling a world with loads of things to collect. So I think there's always room to look at what is currently trendy, or what has just kind of become the template. And we're almost stuck in a rut in some of these things, and just sort of question, okay, we could maybe pare back our budget. And what can we cut? What can we stand to remove? Maybe make the world a bit smaller, because we don't need to fill it with loads of collectibles. Make it a little smaller, but maybe more ambitious in some ways. And I think it's good that these executives, or that these studios, are clearly questioning the current model and thinking, how do we do this? And hopefully there are ways that they can balance the books without the consumer feeling like they're now being charged over the odds, or that the quality overall has had to drop in some way in order to keep the price point the same. So you have to see how it goes.
Yeah, I think I like games as they are, and games are only going to get more complicated. And some people flipping love those collectibles and all those feathers. So
they do.
All the power to them. As you said, we don't, but that doesn't mean that other people don't as well, and we fully acknowledge that, obviously. But there's a lot of guff in us in some games. A lot of padding, and some things could be taken out. But ultimately, I don't know how much money that would save from the budget. There's a good chance that they just have this budget to spend, and that's where some of it goes. But it's not like we could save $1 million if we took out the feathers.
No, for sure.
But that is a larger point of do some games need as many bells and whistles as they have?
And I think what my point is not just to remove the feathers, but I think in the sense of, if you do that and take out lots of other bells and whistles, you could actually make it. You don't need such a big world in a way to fit these things in. And so, it seems counterintuitive for me to say, oh, well, if in order to improve the experience, the world should be smaller. But in some ways, I do think I just get a bit overwhelmed nowadays by these things. And I think, it's not just a case of taking out some of the side quests and collectibles, but by doing that, you could then actually have a slightly more streamlined experience, even within an open world RPG. Yeah. But you're right. You do have to question how much that would really save.
Linear games are fine. I love a linear game. It's a breath of fresh air, quite frankly, at the moment. Getting a game that has levels, that's nice. Everything's huge all the time, and that's fine. But that's also a contributor to why these games take so long to make and are so expensive. But I wouldn't worry about them going anywhere, as I said, and I think they're around to stay. But don't be too surprised as the cost of development continues to increase. Sorry. That the base price of games may go up as well. Finally, it's been a long time, and people have been saying it's going to happen for years, and it hasn't. So it might finally happen. And don't be too surprised when you see it.
It would be nice though if people were able to, if we could maybe temper expectations or people, when a new game comes out now, people compare it to other games and think this is how it has to be. But, I think, like, for example, Resident Evil 3, there were some things definitely wrong with it in terms of, like, it being overly scripted and stuff like that. But I think, actually, part of the reason people were disappointed with the Resi 3 remake was that they were comparing it to Resi 2, which was a phenomenal game, I thought. But I think if Resi 3 remake had come out and that had been the first remake they'd done, I'd like to think it would actually have had a better reception. And it's like comparing like for like, or not like for like, in perhaps one could argue that you can kind of be disappointed to an extent that you don't have to be. So I do wonder whether we have expectations that. It's good to have high expectations because it drives developers and publishers to bring out, the next greatest thing, a new push the boundaries and so on. But equally, if a game comes out like Resi 3, which I thought for the most part was pretty good, then it's a shame that, we feel like it's not as good as it probably actually is objectively because of the expectations. And it would be nice, perhaps, if there could be a slight change in trend towards what we think a game has to be rather than just what it is and like liking it for what it does rather than what it didn't do or what someone else did. But it's a very fine balance because you do want to keep pushing the boundaries and making the next best thing. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, let us know what you think in the comments below as always, and via the various platforms on which we exist.
Yeah. Would you like to know? YouTube and Twitch is where the content goes out, videos and streams. It's youtube.com and twitch.tv/Team TripleJump. When we do streams on both of those platforms, we're modded by Lord Brotovich and Cecil Prumps, who do an excellent job and have had to work a little bit harder than normal in the past week or so, I've noticed. We had someone just come in and spam a load of, like, is it ASCII art? ASCII art? Yeah, just like fill the chat with a load of rubbish.
Oh, great.
So that was good.
Was that literally as soon as I took off the thing that said they have to have followed for 10 minutes?
It was.
Okay, thought so.
Yeah. Twitter and Facebook.com/Team TripleJump. That's where our social medias happen. Luke Eldon looks after Facebook for us and also does a great job. We've got a Patreon, patreon.com/Team TripleJump. All sorts of rewards over there. You can ask questions right here on the podcast. You can get Worst Games Ever a couple of days early, and you can also access an exclusive room in our Discord. And that Discord you can access by going to bit.ly/Team TripleJump. And that is modded by Jack and Joe, who also do a great job. The podcast that you're listening to right now, if you're watching on YouTube, you can get the audio version at play.acast.com/s/TripleJump. We've got a website, triplej.mup, that's ju.mp, where we've got, like, it says as seen on the BBC on there. It's great. And finally, the live stream VODs are all being uploaded to triplej.mup/VODs, which redirects to our YouTube channel where all our VODs live.
Amazing.
There we go.
Amazing. If you want to follow Peter on Instagram and Twitter, you can at that Peter Austin, and myself just on Twitter at confused_dude. You can get lists from us every Tuesday and Thursday, streams every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Thursday being the joint stream, Blaze It on YouTube, the rest being solo streams on Twitch. Worst Games Ever is fortnightly. Friday for patrons, Sunday for everyone else. It's not a Worst Games week, but it will be next week. The podcast is every Saturday, and we do bespoke shows every so often. Please leave us a review on iTunes or your platform of choice. It helps Something to Do with Al Gore's rhythms. And I believe there's an episode of What X Game Means to Me this week, right?
Yeah, went out on Friday. It should have done. Anyway, we're recording ahead of Friday, but it went out on Friday. What Beyond Good and Evil means to me, of course. Obviously, that was his next choice. Maybe now he'll shut up about it. Now he's had a platform to talk about it for 12 minutes. You might be quiet. I won't.
You won't go silently into the night, and that's fine. It's okay.
Never, yeah.
Peter, talk to me about our sponsor again before we go.
Does it burn when you pee? When you look down at the burning pee, is it sort of red and there's like bits of your body in there? Yeah, it's going into the toilet. I hope it's not on the floor. Don't worry, Microsoft Studios have got a tablet for you and all other Weers of Gore.
What's the tablet called? It's
Weers
also
of
called
Gore.
that
It's
too.
It's just sort of the brand name. It's like Corsadil for people who piss blood when they brush their teeth.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Peter. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week. Enjoy the rest of your weekends and take care of yourselves. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.